Okay, I'm a fan of short tutorials that get to the point, so that's what this one's going to be. If you are new to Adobe Illustrator and need some tutorials that give you a beginner's guide to the tools I'm using in Illustrator, I have put links to 4 tutorials that are all under 5 minutes. In other words, you can learn everything you need to know about using Adobe Illustrator for your own interface design in less than half an hour. So, why do I recommend Adobe Illustrator for rendering icons? I'll address this very quickly. I want to be clear that you can make an interface design any way you want. You can hand render icons, or you can do everything digitally. You can make icons in pixel-based programs like Procreate. But I'm recommending Adobe Illustrator because it's vector-based. Vector means you can design something the size of a grain of rice, and you can scale it up to the size of an office building, and the artwork doesn't get fuzzy or pixelated at all. That's the magic of vector art. Let's go through my process for designing icons using Adobe Illustrator from start to finish. I will use this checklist. Find inspiration. Look online. Search for interface designs. Capture that inspiration. So I actually created my own Pinterest page. Look for different ways to represent an idea as an icon. I made folders and put all the icons I found online into these folders. After I saved the icons into folders, I made a multi-page Adobe Illustrator file. And I just dropped the icons right in there. So let's do that. Design one button. Start with one and figure out what the button looks like. I started with the music icon because I thought it would be the easiest, to be honest. I made an icon. So I really like this one. I made an icon here kind of based on that. Made another version. I chose a circle shaped button. Be consistent with your icons. So let's talk about color. I really like this pink colored button with a white icon. So I applied that to all of my buttons. So let's look at contrast. It's fine. It actually shows up. So check. Shape. Again, I like the circle shape button. I also wanted to make sure my icon shapes feel kind of fun and easy to look at, so I made all the shapes have rounded corners. Line weight. None of my icons have outlines, so this is not a factor. But just to be, just to be clear, if you do put a line on yours, so let's do that. Choose black. If I chose to do something like that, I would want to make sure that the line weight was consistent. So whatever it is that I choose, if it's, let's say it's 2 point, make sure that's consistent throughout. Okay, that's the key thing. But like I said, I don't like the outline. I don't like lines on this, so I'm just going to delete that. Style. So sloppy is not a style. This may seem like a weird thing to point out, but you have to think like a professional designer. Even if you are rendering your icons by hand, keep your final designs clean and consistent. Here's an example of a student's icons that are sloppy because they are not resolved. So the only thing consistent about them is their size, approximately, and color, black and white. So even though they are all black and white, the amount of detail varies huge. Line weight varies. The bottom left icon is the only one that is made with solid shapes instead of outlines. So why are there so many inconsistencies? Because the student found just one image for each button and copied it exactly without making any changes. So how can these icons be improved? To start with, I would reduce details to just the essentials, which brings us to the next step, which is minimal. Being minimal is important for your icons. Make your icons distinctly different from each other so they aren't confusing. But being distinct doesn't mean making them complicated. For my music icon, for instance, I considered this 8th note up here. But the quarter note is simpler. Both notes convey the same message, but the quarter note has fewer shapes and less details. Let's go to another symbol I made. I originally created this stylized infinity icon, but it's awkward and it doesn't fit the geometric and minimal language of my other icons. So I went with this cleaner design. So when you place your icons into your interface, it's important to stick with this minimalist approach. So delete lines, shapes, and boxes. The style and aesthetics of your icons you create must be carried into your interface design as a whole. You may be tempted to add lines, create extra shapes, and put objects in boxes. Don't. It's a mistake. If you do have lines, shapes, and boxes in your final interface, try deleting them and see what you think. If you feel it's necessary to keep the lines, shapes, and boxes, decrease the contrast. Make the lines thinner. Too much contrast on things that don't matter, like lines and boxes, creates visual clutter. The interface you have been looking at has lots of great aspects to it. It's logical, has a lot of consistent elements like the colors and font, great use of negative space, and the contrast is intentionally low to create a soothing vibe. Now consider minimalism. I've opened up a screenshot of this interface in Photoshop. What can we delete or change to improve the design? It's all about deleting lines, deleting shapes, and deleting boxes. So let's see what that would look like. Now, one other thing I might do is, because the contrast is a little bit low, I'm just going to increase it a touch. That's it. Remember again to use the crap rules to fine-tune your interface design. And with that, I'm brewing myself a cup of coffee.